I never thought I would be the kind of person to write something like this, but after everything that has happened in the past couple of years, I feel like I need to get it out somewhere. Maybe it will resonate with someone who has been through something similar, or maybe it will just feel good to put it all into words. Either way, here it is. For most of my adult life, my identity was completely tied to my career. I was one of those people who threw herself into work with everything I had. By the time I was 35, I was a junior partner at a big law firm in the United States, the kind of place that prided itself on prestige and the power of its client list. To say I worked hard would be an understatement. I lived in that office, gave up vacations, sacrificed relationships, and put my heart into every single case. I had an excellent track record with clients. I wasn't just clocking hours, I was winning cases, bringing in business, and making sure the firm looked good. I was proud of myself. I really was. It hadn't been easy to get there. Law is still a very male-dominated field, especially at the top, and I had to fight through a lot of subtle, and sometimes not so subtle, forms of sexism to even be taken seriously. But I made it. I thought I had proven myself enough times that I didn't have to look over my shoulder anymore. I thought I was secure. Turns out I was wrong. It started with little comments here and there from the senior partners. Things like, clients seem to respond to your charm more than your legal arguments, or, you've been doing this a while now, you're not the fresh new face anymore. At first, I brushed it off. I thought they were just trying to get under my skin, or maybe it was their way of joking. But over time, the tone shifted. It wasn't jokes anymore. It was judgment. One day, during what was supposed to be a routine performance review, they told me I was no longer a good fit for the direction the firm was going. They said it in this rehearsed, polished way, like they'd practiced the lines. I sat there in disbelief. I asked for specifics. I wanted to know what exactly I had done wrong. Their answers were vague at best. One of them even implied, in this disgusting, patronizing way, that my looks had carried me further than my skills ever had. That my success was because clients liked having an attractive lawyer on their side, not because of the hours I had poured into research, strategy, and negotiation. I'll never forget how small I felt sitting in that room. 35 years old, after more than a decade of blood, sweat, and sleepless nights for that firm, and they were reducing me to nothing but a face. They didn't give me recognition. They didn't give me the compensation I deserved. They just tossed me aside like I was used up, like I didn't matter anymore. I wish I could say I handled it gracefully, but I didn't. I went home that day and cried harder than I have in years. It wasn't just about losing the job. It was the betrayal. I had believed in that firm. I had trusted those people. I had made it my home, my family in some twisted way. And suddenly I was out on the street, feeling like a failure, questioning everything about myself. Was I really only good because of my looks? Had all my victories been a lie? Was I already too old to be taken seriously? Those thoughts ate at me. The next few months were dark. I didn't know what to do with myself. I sent out a few resumes, but my heart wasn't in it. The idea of throwing myself into another firm, starting at the bottom again, and working my way back up under another set of condescending old men made me sick. I felt humiliated and stuck. It was around that time that a friend of mine, someone who had nothing to do with law, joked that I should start an OnlyFans. I laughed at first. I mean, me? A lawyer who had spent her whole career building this serious, professional image? It seemed ridiculous. But the idea stuck in my head, not in the way you might think, but as a challenge. Why not take control of my image for once? Why not stop letting other people define me? The more I thought about it, the more it made sense. If the firm wanted to treat me like I was nothing more than a face, maybe I could take that very thing and flip it on its head. I wasn't just attractive, I was smart, creative, and I knew how to connect with people. What if I leaned into that instead of fighting it? So I did it. I created an account. But I didn't want it to just be about posting pretty pictures. I built it around this persona of being a confident, elegant lawyer who also didn't take herself too seriously. I wore business attire with a twist, I shared little stories from my past cases, nothing confidential of course, just lighthearted takes on the absurd things you see in law, and I even started giving playful, simplified legal tips to my audience. It was fun. It was creative. And most importantly, it was mine. To my absolute shock, it took off almost immediately. People loved the concept. They weren't just there for the looks, they were there because it felt authentic. I wasn't hiding behind a corporate image anymore. I was just me, mixing humor and confidence with a little bit of allure. Within a few months, I was making more money than I ever had at the law firm. At first, I felt guilty. I had spent so long building a serious career, and here I was succeeding in a completely different space. But then something unexpected happened. Some of my old clients started reaching out to me directly. They had seen my new venture, and instead of judging me, they were impressed. They liked that I had taken control of my own life. A few of them even asked if I was still available for consultations. I said yes, and before I knew it, I had built a small but steady stream of legal work again, this time on my own terms. The irony wasn't lost on me. The very thing my old firm mocked me for, my appearance and my presence, had become the foundation for my success. But now it wasn't being used against me, it was something I chose to use, combined with my intelligence and skills, to build something entirely new. I can't even describe the feeling of empowerment that came with that. For so long, I had let other people tell me what I was worth, what I was capable of, and what my future looked like. Now, I was the one in control. I was making more money, I was happier, and I wasn't chained to an office where people looked down on me. Over time, the shame and humiliation I had carried after being fired started to fade. I realized that losing that job wasn't the end of my career, it was the start of something bigger. I wasn't just a discarded lawyer. I was a woman who had rebuilt her life on her own terms, who had taken something painful and turned it into power. I'll admit, there's still a part of me that feels quietly satisfied knowing that the firm that pushed me out is losing ground. I've heard through the grapevine that a few of my old clients have left them entirely, choosing to work with me instead. I don't gloat about it publicly, but inside, it feels like justice. Looking back, I see now that I let myself get trapped in their definition of success. I thought prestige and titles were the only things that mattered. But the truth is, freedom and self-respect matter so much more. I've learned that success doesn't have to look like what everyone else tells you it should. Sometimes it looks like reinventing yourself in a way you never imagined, and finding out you're stronger than you ever knew. I'm 35, and instead of feeling like my best years are behind me, I feel like they're just beginning. I don't know where this path will take me next, but I know one thing for sure, I'll never let anyone make me feel small like that again.